Okay, so first I want to go over the 45-degree angle, or we can talk about it in terms of a clock face, whichever one is better for you. So at this point, Justin, we are going over what the 45 is. So if you see the court, right now there are 3 strips on the court. 2 on the baseline, 1 in front. If you want to do the clock face, it's 12 o'clock in front, 3 o'clock on the right, 9 o'clock on the left. In between those strips, there will be other angles. So these will either be considered the 45-degree angles, or if you want to go with the clock face, it would be 1:30 to 2, and this one would be 10:30 to 11. That is where you want your contact to be at all times. You do not want your contact to be late. If you get caught with the contact being late, it's all right. You improvise. But the majority of the time, you do not want to get caught hitting late. So if I stand here and I put my arms out to these angles, you see that my body right now becomes the clock face or becomes the angles. So my chest is now the 0 line, or the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock. As far as going across in this plane, now my arms are going to be the angles that I need for contact. 45. If you can see, on my right, I have that contact. On my left, I have that contact as well. So being a righty or a lefty doesn't really matter. You want those angles. So from this position, what I'm going to do is rotate. Now the first initial piece that rotates is my hip. My hip rotates first, and that drags along my upper body to come around here. Notice my arms have not moved from their position. My chest is still facing forward. Now from this position, the hip pushes back forward, and then everything comes along. My arms have not changed position. So one thing here to understand is your arms should not be leading the swing. Your arms should actually be following the hip. Yeah, you can bring it up a little. So with the setup being there, my arms being in this position when I get set, my elbows are still in this position. But here's where my arms actually start in ready position. So from this position, I will go into the hip leading first, hip goes first, then my arms follow, and now I'm into my short take back. Racket will go back at some point to get pulled forward by the hip, and then I get to the contact, and these arms are pretty much in the same position as what I showed you in the beginning. That is the goal of what to do with the arms. So now that is the contact point. You want contact points to be there. That's the first thing I want you to understand. So now, second piece becomes your hip leads the arms every time. So my hip is the initial thing that goes, then everything else goes. Everything should lag behind. It has to have something lagging behind. So the hip goes first, it lags behind. If I go first with my arm, then my arm goes back first, and then everything else lags behind. But I'm not using my arm for power, I'm actually using my body. So I want to use my hip for power, not my arm. As the hip goes back, so does the core, so does the chest, so does the shoulder, so does the arm, and then finally everything starts to go forward again. The hip and everything else goes forward again. I did write to you about making sure you understand the stretching and releasing, because after the hip goes, then the stretching and releasing is the next step. That's the next thing that you want to go into. So now, those are the 2 things I want you to practice for now. Using your 45 contact, making sure you know you are hitting the ball at that angle away from your body, and making sure you're initiating with the hip first, then getting the stretch and release. Now, as a teaser, if you can master those things, and you're going to have to send me a video of what you look like doing them, and I will be the judge. If you successfully get those two, then I show you about the whip. Because the final step is you want to get all of this body positioning, all of this stuff you're loading into your body, everything, even the legs, everything gets loaded in. Everything needs to be thrown out into the hand. So the hand has to be this loose. My wrist is floppy as hell right now. My hand is loose. And it can do this because it's so loose. So at this point, when I rotate my entire body and I get all of these forces to join together, the final piece becomes me throwing all of this out into my hand and making my hand whip through. And the whip is so fast. Actually, just by doing it slow, this is slow. You can't really see it in the camera that much. My hand is blurring, right? Now, if I do it a little faster, it blurs even more. If I add all of this, it blurs even more. You can actually look at that in slow-mo. I know YouTube has that slow-mo thing, but that is the final piece to this. This is what everybody's looking for. They're looking for the way to get that maximum velocity in a pro stroke. And it's getting everything in your entire body to go out through your hand. If you can do that, then you will have your dream forehand, dream backhand even. The backhand has the whip action to it too. All right, so sorry this took so long, but got it done. Hopefully this helps. And remember, I'm counting on you for feedback because this will be my first attempt at the online. All right, I'll see you later.